So we are going to start off with another kind of, you can call it method or a way Selenium provides you, Selenium WebDriver provides you to handle different keyboard operations and mouse operations, right? So that is called the actions class. And inside this, we have got different methods to simulate the keyboard operations and the mouse operations. Okay, so action class is used for handling mouse and keyboard events in Selenium. And there are different mouse actions, right? So it's basically all the operations which or actions you can perform using your mouse, right? So there is double click. So you can double click on an element using this method. There is click and hold, which means if you want to keep the click on the element without releasing it. Okay, so sometimes you need to drag and drop a particular element from one place to another. At that point, you click on a particular element and keep pressing it until you drag it to a different point, right? So that time you can use this click and hold method. Then there is drag and drop. So drags the element from one point to the another point. You need to specify both the points where you want to drag and drop. Okay. Then there is move to element. So shifts the mouse pointer to center of the element, which means basically hovering over a particular element, right? So if you want to hover over an element through which it will show you some drop down items, or you just want to move to that particular element, right? So that point of time you can use this move to element. And then when you want to perform a right click on an element, you can use the context click method. So all of these methods are present inside the actions class. Now, similarly, there are keyboard actions, right? So send keys sends a series of keys to the element. Okay, we have already seen this send keys method, which we have used in our WebDriver methods, but you can also use it as part of the actions class. Okay. Then there is key up method, which performs the key release, which means if your key is already kind of pressed, then you can perform a key release. Okay. Then key down means you perform a key press without release, which means you are pressing on a particular key. And these keys could be any key on the keyboard. Okay. So it could be a shift key, a control key, a enter key, right? So all the keys you can pass in these methods, and you can use these different methods in order to perform all the different actions on the mouse and keyboards, which are basically called the events. Okay. Now these are pretty useful in specific scenarios, like you want to perform different operations on the same element one by one, right? Simultaneously. In these kind of scenarios, you can use the actions class. Okay, so let's see how we can use them. So this is the actions class. Now, let me pick one scenario, right, where I want to use this particular actions class. Now, obviously there could be a lot of different scenarios where you can use them, but let me tell you one scenario where it is used. I mean, where you can basically understand this. Okay. So, say for example, I type here the username. Okay. and then I double click it to basically highlight this particular username which I have entered. Okay. And if I want to right click on this, okay, and I want to press some key, or I just want to right click on this and see the menu, what it is displayed here. Okay, so these kind of actions, which are simultaneous actions, right? First, you enter the text in the field, then you double click it to kind of highlight that text. Then you want to perform a right click, right? So all of these operations simultaneously you can perform using the actions class. Okay, so this is one example. Some other examples could be if you have got an application where you can drag and drop elements, right? So that time you can use the other action class methods for keyboard and mouse. Okay, so for this, what we can do is we need to create a actions object first. Okay, so first import the package for actions class and then create an object. Inside this, pass the driver. So once this is created, then we can use the actions methods, right? So the first method which we want to use, maybe move to element, right? So move to element means we are going to move our mouse pointer to that particular element. Okay. So in our case, let's define the element first here. Web element equals to okay, so this is my element. Now in this move to element, I can directly pass the element. Okay. Now I can perform the next operation by just clicking again dot and my next operation which I want to perform. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to perform a click operation on this element just to make sure that the pointer is at the right place. Okay. And then I am going to say send keys and I can pass the element here. And I can also pass the keys, which is basically the value, right? So what's the value? Standard use. So you can write the send keys both ways. You can only pass the value or you can specify which particular element you are passing this particular value just to make sure that it is going to the right element. Okay. So the next operation which I want to perform is double click on the element. Okay, so I will say element here, which is going to double click it. Then again, I want to perform a context click. Okay. Either you can write all of them in one line or you can also write it like this. Once you perform all the actions which you want to perform on the element using the actions class, at the end, you need to specify .build .perform. Okay, so these are the two methods which will basically build all of these actions together and then perform all of these actions one by one. Okay. So let's see if it works. Okay, so there is some Chrome driver exception. So if you remember, I told you earlier that the Chrome driver version and the Chrome version should match. Now it seems my Chrome version is already outdated. So, or it may be updated actually, not outdated. So my version is 92.0, but uh, my Chrome driver version is lower than my Chrome version, and that's the reason it is throwing this kind of error. Okay. Now, one problem with this Chrome driver is without restarting the machine, you cannot delete this Chrome driver.exe because it will always tell you that it is still in use, even though um, if you remove all the Chrome instances from your system or close all the instances, it will still tell that it is not able to delete. So basically, you need to restart your machine in order to remove those instances, okay, from your system. So let's not do that right now. I don't want to restart. So we are going to look at the other way around, right? So which is the WebDriver Manager, which is a better way of managing your um, Chrome driver versions with the Chrome versions. So let's use that dependency. Okay, now let me check whether that dependency is present now. Okay, so this is the WebDriver Manager dependency. Now, how do you use it? You can find it in the GitHub page. Okay, so as you can see, it is a library which allows you to automate the management of the different browser drivers. Okay, it is a open source library, so you can directly use it. The basic usage is you use the dependency for WebDriver Manager, and then you can specify the WebDriver Manager dot Chrome driver dot setup, which will basically set up your driver. Okay. So instead of using these lines of code, we'll say WebDriver Manager. You can see all the browser drivers are present here. Okay, so you can say WebDriver Manager.ChromeDriver.setup, and that will take care of all the setup which is required, right? So it will download the binaries. It will match the correct binary with your Chrome version. Okay, so it will do all the different things which are required to be done. And after that, the script will remain same. So driver equals to new Chrome driver. Okay. So basically, instead of you downloading the driver on your own and then setting the system property, just use this method which is provided by this WebDriver Manager class. Okay. So let's try and run this again. Okay, so now you can see there is no driver exceptions. It will in future also, it will automatically take care of all the different versions and things. Okay, so it's a better way of writing your scripts. And coming to the actual script, if you noticed, it entered the value, it performed all the different actions together. Okay, so which means one by one. So it moved to the element, it clicked on the element, it entered this value, it double clicked on it, and then it performed the context click. Okay, so if not, let me run this again. So it's very fast. So you may not be able to see all the actions, but again, let's comment this out so that it doesn't quit, and we can see what are the actions being performed on the element. Okay, so as you can see, it is highlighted by double clicking it, and then it has also performed a context click here. Okay, obviously you can perform more actions on this element by using send keys, and then in send keys you can mention these keys. Basically, if you want to copy this particular text, right, you can press Control plus C. Okay, so you can pass these values in the send keys method. And you can go on performing all the different actions which you want to perform. But at the last, you just need to mention .build.perform if you are using the actions class methods. So do remember that there is no other method through which you can perform a right click. Okay, in Selenium, you have to use the actions class if you are looking to right click on a particular element. The other methods are generally available like the send keys, but not the right click. Okay, let's move on to our next topic. Okay, so handling alert boxes. Now, if if you have seen generally, right, there are many web applications which throw this kind of different alert boxes. It might be asking you to subscribe to their websites, or it might be just entering some text into a particular text box, or it might be just a alert box, right? Asking you to either perform a click operation or enter some text or just view some information, right? And these are basically some pop-up boxes which appear on different websites. Okay, and these are basically written in JavaScript. So JavaScript pop-ups, alert boxes you can see on different web pages. Okay, so alert is nothing but it is a small message box which displays on-screen notification. Okay, and as I told you, there are different types of alerts. There is the simple alert, which is used to display some information only to the user. You can either press or click on the OK or cancel button. Okay, or there could also be a close button. Then there are prompt alerts. It is used to get some input from the user. Then there is confirmation alert, right? So it comes with an option to accept or dismiss the alert. So these are the different kinds of alert boxes which you might come across whenever you're trying to automate your applications. These might occur in some pages, and you need to handle these in your scripts in order to move forward. Otherwise, your script might fail. Okay. Now there are different methods to handle these alert boxes. So the first is dismiss, which is basically nothing but clicking on the cancel button of the alert, right? So it will close the alert box using the dismiss method. Then there is accept method, which is basically clicking on the OK button of the alert. And get text, if you want to capture the alert message which is displayed on that particular alert box, you can use the get text method. And if you want to enter any particular text into that alert box, right, there will be a text field. You can use the send keys method. So these are the different methods which are available with your alerts class in Selenium. Okay. Okay. So let's try to use some some scenario where we can see these alert boxes. Okay. Okay, so in this page, we have got some demo alert boxes, as you can see here. If I click on show me alert, it is showing me this. This is basically a alert or pop-up box which appears on a application, right? So if you click on a button, it will show you this dialog box. It has just got a message and a OK button. Okay. Similarly, if I click on show me prompt, this is a different kind of alert where you need to enter your name. Okay, so there is a text box and there is a OK and cancel button. And then this is another type of alert box which has got both OK and cancel buttons, and it is displaying some message. Okay, so different types of alert boxes which might come across any application, and you need to know how you can handle these. Okay, so coming back here, let's use the driver.navigate method to go to that particular page. Okay, so let's paste the URL here. Now I need to, let's try with simple alert box. So I need to click on this button. So inspect this. Okay, so the type is button and the value is show me alert, right? So let's try and use this one. So let's verify whether it is able to identify or not first. Okay, so this will work, this XPath. And I want to click on this element. Okay, so once I click on this, it is going to throw me this alert. And if I don't handle this, you will see that my mouse will always remain in this alert box. It is not on the main page. And that's why if you don't handle or close this alert box, your script will fail. The other operations won't be performed because your mouse or your current control, WebDriver control, is in some other place, not on the main page. Okay, so you need to come back to the main page by closing this alert box or by performing or clicking on this OK button. Okay, so what we can do is we can use the driver.switch to method. Okay, so using this switch to, you can either switch to a particular window or a particular alert or a particular frame. So there are three different kinds of windows where you can use this switch to method. Okay, so for this we are using the alert. Okay, so we'll use the switch to alert, and then we will use what we want to do here is we want to accept, or basically we want to click on the OK button, right? So you will see there is a accept method for alert, right? So you can write your script like this. Okay, so once the alert is displayed, after that you can write this statement to basically switch to that alert and then perform the accept operation, which means clicking on the OK button. Okay, so if I want to run this, okay, so as you can see, the alert box appeared and then it clicked on it to close it, right? Basically returning the control to our main page. Similarly, you can use the other alert boxes. So just need to get the XPath here. Dot click. Okay. So if I want to use show me prompt, inspect on this, just a minute. Okay, so there is no other attribute. There is just this text, which is show me prompt, right? So I need to use this. So here we'll use the text method for XPath. And I need to change the element type. In this case, it is a button. Okay, now it is able to identify. So paste it here, the XPath. Once you click on it, it will display that. And then we will switch to that particular alert. Okay. And then I will use the sendKeys method in order to enter my name here. Okay. So once I enter my name here, then I can perform the normal operations, which is either to accept or close. But let's see whether it is able to enter the name into this particular alert box. Okay. Okay, since it is very fast, you may not be able to see it, but it performed all the different operations on the alert box. Similarly, you can use driver dot switch to alert dot dismiss, which will basically click on the close button. Okay, and you can also use the other method, which is getText. Okay, so this will basically return you the text. You can store it in some string value. Okay, so these are all the methods which are present in alert. You can use them using the driver dot switch to method. Now, similar to alert boxes, there are also scenarios where you will encounter multiple windows, right? So if you click on something, it will, or when you open any web page, it will show you multiple windows, and then you need to switch your control to different windows in order to perform different operations, right? Now, don't confuse between a window and a alert box, right? So a window would be, um, it won't be a alert box, right? So it won't be a JavaScript alert box. It will be a proper window-like thing where you will have, or you could have different elements inside this child windows as well. Okay, so we can switch to these windows again using the switch to methods. And here we can also use window handlers, right, which returns us a unique window handle, right? So using the get window handles, you can get the handle of a particular window, and it's basically like a ID of a window, right? So it returns you this unique reference using this get window handle method. So it will return you the current window handle. And then there is window handles, which will return you the set of all the handles for all the open windows. Okay, and then as I said, we can use the switch to window method in order to switch to a particular window. We can either pass the window handle inside this switch to window method in order to switch to a particular window. Okay, so let's see. There is a generic example where you will see this window, multiple windows, right? So let me show you that. And in real world, you can come across the scenario in your own applications, but for demo purpose, let me show you this particular example. So I'm sure all of you must have um, gone to this naukri.com, right? And whenever you go to this naukri.com, you will see. So this is logged in, but let me open it in a different window. We'll see. Generally, it throws multiple windows. These could be advertisements of different companies, right? So, but there are multiple windows which are displayed on the home page. Okay, so when you go into this home page, just a minute. Okay, yeah. So here you will see these are something called windows, and you can easily distinguish between a alert box and window, right? So there would be content inside this windows, separate windows, and there would be the normal controls like minimize, maximize, and the close button. Okay. Now it could also contain multiple controls inside these windows. Now you need to decide what you want to perform on these windows, or you just want to close these windows. Okay. So for this, I'm going to, to demonstrate this, I'm going to use this particular example. Okay, so here, what we can do is let's find the parent window handle. Okay, so parent window means the first window out of all the windows, and every window will have its own window handle ID. At so you can use that in order to iterate through all the windows. Okay, so let's store the first window handle. There is this get window handle, which is part of the WebDriver. So this will return us a window handle ID, which is nothing but a string. So we can store it in a string value. Okay. Now, this is the main window handle, but I want to get all the different window handles of all the windows which are opened on my page. Okay. So what we can do is we can use a set, right? So it will return us a set of all the window handles, right? And we need to store it in a set. So if you remember, we have learned about what is a set and what are different types like hash set, right, in Java. So this is a set. So we'll say set string of handles equals to driver dot get window handles, right? Okay, sorry, it is handles, not handle. Okay, so once we get this, what we can do is we can iterate through each handle. So we can use a for each loop here. Handle for each handle in handles. Inside this, then we can do what we want to do with our windows. Okay, so what I want to do here is in this scenario, I want to close all the child windows and I just want to stay on the main window to perform some operations, right? So I'm saying if the main window not equals to, right, the handle, then only perform these operations. Okay, so I will say driver dot, I'm going to switch to that particular window handle, which is the first. Switch to window, and inside this I will say handle So it will switch to that particular window. And if you want to, I want to close that particular window. So I will say driver.close. It will close the current window. Okay, so this way, any number of windows which are open in my current page will be closed, right? Only the main window will remain open because of this condition, which is the if condition. Otherwise, it will switch to every other window and then close it, right? If you want to check which particular window is getting closed, you can also do that, right? So you can say switch to window handle, and here you can use the get title method. Okay, so this will return you the title, and I can easily print it out. If I'm closing the current windows. Okay, so this is the loop which will kind of perform the operation on all the child windows. Okay, so once we do that, we again need to switch back to our main window handle. Okay, so the control will pass over to the main window, and then you can perform any other operation which you want to perform on the main window. Okay, say for example, I want to um, search for a particular job in Naukri.com. Okay, after closing all the child windows. So I can do this. I have this ID I can use. I'll say driver dot find element by dot ID. Okay, and I will do send keys. In this, I will search for automation testing. And then I will say driver dot find element by dot. So I want to click on search button. So I can say by dot text path. Since there is no other attribute, I will use the text attribute. Okay, so I'll say button here, and then the text function equals to search. Dot click. So this is the text which is present here. Okay, so this is a normal scenario which you can perform on Naukri.com, right? You can automate this to search your jobs using this particular script. You can also enter locations. You can enter more skills and specific skills and designations to search for a particular list of jobs. So let's see whether it works. Okay, I think it was little fast, so let me slow it down. But as you can see, the title of the windows which we closed is printed here, right? So one was Cognizant, one was Tech Mahindra. Now let me run this again so that let's see if we are able to see the automation testing jobs, right? You can see here it has performed a search and it has returned me all these results. Now, obviously, I can automate the complete flow, or like I can select different filters. I can also apply for the jobs using my automation, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just showing you what kind of operations you can perform using the switch to Windows. Okay. Okay, so this is how you handle multiple windows and multiple alert boxes, or you can say alert boxes. Okay, so any questions here? Or we'll move on to our next topic, which is handling cookies. So there is a concept called cookies, right? So if you have heard earlier or not, but these cookies are basically bits of information which the browser stores, okay, or the application stores in your system in order to basically speed up your website performance, right? Or your site application performance, web applications. So what it does, it will store a small file in your system through which it can recognize whether which user is logging in. So even if you don't if you say remember my user credentials, the next time it will not try to ask you the username and password, because that is already stored in that particular cookie, and it will use that cookie information to automatically log in to your website, right? It also use I mean, applications do use these cookies in order to also remember user preferences, right? So if for say example the Amazon website, right? So in Amazon, the things which you are performing on the website, right? Or if you're going to a specific page, so they can store any kind of information in these cookies which are stored in your systems. And using these cookies, then they can actually simulate the behavior, or they can actually provide you recommendations on their websites. Okay, so if you are interested in a particular thing, they will recommend you that based on your activities which you perform on a website. They will store that in cookies, and then they will use that to basically recommend you their own things. Okay, so there are different ways in which these cookies can be used by different websites. Somewhere they use it for storing the login credentials, or some way of authentication mechanism through which they can authenticate the users, or sometimes they are used for better performance, and sometimes they are used for providing better user experience on their websites. Okay, so that's what a cookie is. It's a small file, and it contains some data from a website. Okay. Now, Selenium also allows you to handle these cookies in different ways. Okay, so either you can delete all the cookies before you run your script using the delete all cookies method. You can delete a specific cookie based on the name of the cookie, right? So using this delete cookie named method, then you can also delete a cookie which is deleting a specific cookie, right? So the difference is here. Here you can specify the name of the cookie. Here you can specify some other property. Okay. Similarly, you can add your own cookie to your script. Now, this is useful when you are trying to simulate some user behavior, right? Where you want to store some information in the form of a cookie. So in that, you can use the add cookie method in Selenium to basically add your own cookie to the website. Okay. And then there is get cookies, which will return you the list of all the cookies which are present in that particular website. And then if you want to get a specific cookie, then you can use the cookie named, where you can specify the name of the cookie. Okay, so these are all the different methods. Now, these are useful in only specific scenarios when you are dealing with cookies, but it's good to kind of know how to use these cookie methods in Selenium. Okay, so public void, let's try to use these cookie methods. So let's pick up some website. Okay, so generally cookie information is also shown on this developer tab. Okay, so you can see which cookies are present. Let me see where it is. Okay, here. Right. So if you go to application, here you will see there are lots of different information. Okay, and one of them is cookies. Okay, so when you expand this, it will show you all the cookies which is being stored. So right now, as you can see, let me log in and see whether it is storing any cookies or not, this website. Not all websites will store cookies. Okay, so as you can see, session username is stored as a cookie here, and it has got different properties of its own, right? So it has got a value, it has got a domain, a path, expires max age, which means this particular cookie will expire in this particular time. Okay, the size, and then some other methods. Okay, so this is what a cookie looks like in every website, and there would be a number of different cookies which will be stored in a particular website once you start using it. Okay, and you can see it inside this application tab, which is inside your developer tab for your browser, which is the Chrome browser. Okay, now you can get all these cookies or delete these cookies using the cookie methods in Selenium. Okay, so in order to do this, I have to log in first. So let's do the login. So let me use these methods which we have already written to log in. Okay, so this is the login script. And once I log in, now if I want to um, get all the cookies, right? So So it is under the manage class, right? Driver.manage. You will find all the methods. If I say get cookies, this will return me all the cookies, and it returns me in the form of a set. Okay. I'm storing it in a set, and then I can simply print it out just to see what are the cookies present in my website. Okay, so as you can see, this is the cookie. So it has got this session username, standard user, expires, and all the other domain path. So whatever information is present, it will show it here. So similarly, you can get hold of all the cookies from your website. Okay. If you want to get a specific cookie, right? So you have to create a cookie object, right? So say for example, this is user, cookie user, right? And I will say driver dot manage dot get cookie named. Inside this, you have to pass the name of the cookie. Okay. So that's session username. That's the name. And I can print out the cookie now. Okay, so let's see if it gets this cookie. Okay, so basically this is a set of all the cookies, right? And that's why you are seeing it inside this brackets. This is a single cookie, which I have got using this name of the cookie, which is session username, right? So if I want to get a specific cookie, I can use this method, get cookie named. Now, what else we can do is we can delete the cookie. Okay, so driver.manage dot, right? So either I can use delete all cookies, or I can use driver.manage dot delete cookie. I need to pass a cookie here, right? So that would be a cookie which I have already created an object. So this is a cookie object type. I need to pass it here if I want to delete that cookie. Okay. Or I can use the delete cookie named and I can pass the name here if I want to delete a specific cookie. Right. So all of these. So first we'll delete all the cookies which are present on the website. This will delete a specific cookie based on the cookie type. And this will be based on a specific cookie based on the name of the cookie. This is how you delete your cookies from your website. Now, if I want to add a custom cookie of my own, right? So if I say this is a custom cookie and I will say new cookie, okay, I will say password pass, right? So this is some cookie I'm just creating a new cookie here, which is one of my own custom cookie. And I'm just trying to add it into the website. Okay, so driver dot manage dot add cookie, and I will pass this cookie. Okay, now to make sure that this is added, I can also check it out. So I will say driver dot manage dot get cookie named. I can pass the name here. So my name is password, right? This is the cookie I've created. So let's see. Okay, so as you can see, these are the previous cookies, right? And this is the cookie which I have added on my own. Okay, so password equals to pass. This is the name, this is the value, this is, and the other information is automatically added. Okay, so even if I don't add that information, it will be automatically added, like the path and the domain, right? So these are some meta information which is added by the browser itself or the website itself whenever I add a new cookie. We'll move on to how do you handle web tables in different applications, right? So there is no generic methods which are available with Selenium to handle web tables, but these web tables are pretty common in many applications, right? Web applications, you will everywhere you will find these kind of web tables. So what are these web tables, right? So that could be static tables or those could be dynamic tables. And static tables, which means the data is static, it is not changing. So number of rows and columns should be fixed, right? Dynamic tables, the data is dynamic. The number of rows and columns may not be fixed, it could be changing. Okay. Now, how you identify a particular web table? So whenever you spy any particular element, right, or inspect a particular element on the web page, you will see this table tag. If you see this table tag, that means it is a web table. And then you need to fall back upon different mechanisms to handle this web table. Okay. Now every web table has got rows and columns. Okay. So the columns are represented by the TD tag, right? And the rows are represented by the TR tag. Also, the headings of the table are represented by TH tag. So these are the different tags you will find when you are looking at a web table in your web in your web application. Okay. Now, as I said, there are no generic methods present in Selenium through which you can handle this. You have to fall back on your own scripting logic in order to handle this web tables. Okay. So let me try and find a web table first. Okay. Okay, there doesn't seem to be a web table here. So here what I can do is I can see h4 slash fine. So let me try out something else. In these kind of scenarios, you can also fall back upon XPath given by the developer tools. Although it may not be the best way, but still it. So it is going from somewhere on the top, right? And then div1 and then table. So it is going from here since there is no other unique attribute. But there are different ways of doing this, right? So let me, we have learned about access methods, so we can use something like that here. Okay, if these are all under a single parent. Okay, so this seems to be the parent of all of these different elements. So what we can do is we can use following and then table. Okay, there are two tables or three tables basically. Okay, if this is also not giving you unique, then use a top index on top of this, right, so that you can get the unique element. Okay, so this is how you write this XPath. Okay, so let's create another test method to see this, how we can use this. So first I'm going to navigate to this URL. Okay, let's store it in a web element. We'll call it WebTable. Okay, so this is our WebTable element. Yeah, so I've used the XPath, stored it in a web element, which is my web table. Now, what we can do here is if we want to click on the submit button, right, which is on the third row and the last column, right? Now you can see there are different, there is body, there is row for each row, and inside each row you have got these columns, right, which has got all these different values. So we have got this, and this is contained inside again a TD, inside this again a form. So there could be number of different elements inside a table. So you need to iterate through everything if you want to perform anything inside a particular web table, right? So this is the input ID which I want to click upon. But for that, I need to reach to this particular element. Okay. So how do I do that? Okay, so let's try it some other way. Instead of this complicated XPath, let me try it with some values which are present here, like cell padding equals to 10, right? Okay, so this way also we can identify it. So it's easier, this XPath. And after this, what I will say is tr, right, which is the row, and I want to go to the third row. Okay, so as you can see, it is taking me to the third row, and then I want to go to the last column, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So I will again say /td of 6, right? So that will take me to the last column. And inside this, I will have the form, or I can say / again, and I can say input, right? So here I can put, if there are different input elements, I can put ID equals to submit button. Right? So this is the XPath, which is basically this element, right? So I have iterated through different rows and columns in order to reach here. So you need to put everything in your XPath. Okay, so now here I don't even need this. Let's directly use the XPath expression here, and then I will say dot click. So that's my submit button, and it's going to click on that element or this button, right? So if I click on submit, although nothing happens on this website, it is just clicking and disabling this button. But let's see if we are able to do that or not. Okay. Let me comment this out and run this. Okay, so as you can see, it has clicked on the submit button, and the same kind of behavior we can see here using our script. So similarly, you can perform any operation on any particular element which is present inside this table, which is inside the rows and columns. So you need to identify which row and column you want to use and then use it. Now, say for example, if your rows, I mean, this element is changing in a dynamic table, right? It is changing the position of this particular element. So basically the row and column, right? And in that kind of cases, then you can I mean, there are no methods like you will find in other tools like if you have worked with QTP, you will or UFT, right? You will see there is the get column count, get row count, through which or these are something like Excel sheets as well, right? Where you can get the column count and row count, then you can iterate through each element. I mean each row and then each column in order to dynamically find this particular element on a particular row and column, and then you can perform the operation. But here, Selenium WebDriver doesn't actually provide you with that, right? So um, you cannot basically make your script dynamic in that case, but you can manipulate the row and column in order to basically manipulate your XPath expression in order to identify that element and perform the operation on that particular element.